Lynn.
I'm Amanda.
And
this is The Pursuit of Badasserie, the podcast.
We're cutting through the fluff and cracking open what it really takes to build a business and life that you actually want.
No gurus, no gatekeeping, just real talk, big action, and the badass energy you need to scale and slay.
Some episodes, it's just us.
And sometimes we bring on powerful guests with stories that'll hit home.
Either way, this is not about playing small.
It's about going all in.
Let's get after it. Hi, I'm Lynn.
And I'm Amanda. Welcome to The Pursuit of Badasserie, the podcast. Today, we're talking about something that I wish more people did in their businesses. We wish more people understood the importance of this one thing in getting and keeping clients, and that is the follow-up.
Absolutely. The importance of follow-up is for real, people. And follow-up does not mean going after and selling them. Follow-up doesn't mean, blasting them, but it can mean so many different things. Regardless of, it's situational, I would say. Most people don't follow up. Listen, Amanda and I come from a B&I background, as you know, if you've been listening to us or read one of our books. It's key. When we would talk about in the chapters, so if you're not familiar, like you go every week to the same chapter with the same people with visitors, you ask for referrals, etc. And essentially what would happen is that people would get referrals and they would just kind of sit there. Or like they would go to the networking meetings, but they wouldn't follow up with the members. And so they didn't have as much of an experience or as result as what they could have had because they're just kind of like going through the motions. They feel, some of them felt like they were God and they didn't need to. I mean, there were so many variations of why, but they left money on the table. They didn't continue to nurture relationships that could turn into friendships, that could turn into business, that could turn into strategic alliances, because they didn't follow up. Most businesses, regardless if you're in corporate or as a solopreneur, they don't follow up.
And they need to. Oh my gosh, it is so important. Even if you're not thinking about the sheer money of things, think about your time. Why would I go to a networking event just to collect a bunch of business cards that I will never use again, that I will never contact anybody again, that I will never get anything? No wonder people feel like networking doesn't work. If you show up thinking that people are just going to bow down to you and give you their money, that's not how it works. Mm-hmm. And even outside of networking, I know a lot of people I have talked with are afraid of the follow-up sounding too salesy. Like, oh, if I follow up, they're going to think I'm trying to sell them. And I was like, well, you are trying to sell them. I'm not saying you're not trying to do that. And we're not anti-following up to get the sale. That's not what we're saying. It's just that if you have this feeling like you're bothering people and I don't want to be too salesy, I don't want them to think that I'm this or I'm pushy, you might be number one manifesting that. You might actually be being those things. You might be those things. You might be too pushy. You might be too salesy and you're not really creating any relationships, but you're also leaving on the table the possibility for not just a sale, but a relationship that could lead to quadruple the sales. Or, I used to always tell people, I would say 99% of my friends paid me first to hang out with them. And then they became friends because we built a relationship. But really, it's true. Most of my friends paid me to hang out. And then I became their friend. It wasn't like I chose to just randomly hang out with them from a grocery store visit. So if I had just written them off as like, I'm only going to connect with them when I want them to buy something from me, they wouldn't be my friends to this day. So
it's because they were clients. They didn't actually pay for her friendship.
But they were my clients. So that's how I made friends, is eventually you invest in the relationship over just the financial side. It could just have easily gone the other way where I only was transactional with them and they never hit a level of new relationship. So they could just be some people who paid me like $100 a few years ago. Like that's what it could have been. But it's creating the relationships. So it's more than just following up to get the money. It's following up for a variety of reasons. But bottom line, people don't do it enough. You don't do it enough.
Yeah. And listen, you follow up, the way you follow up and what you say in the follow-up is contingent upon how the conversation or how the interaction went, right? So if you guys were talking about sales and they're like, oh, send me more information about your XYZ, then that is what you're doing. and you're moving that along. Essentially, follow-up is moving the dialogue and the relationship along, regardless of what direction it's going. If they were just really cool to hang out with and you want to nurture that, of course, you're not going to send them stuff about your business, but maybe you just might say, hey, Amanda, it was great to meet you last night. Let's grab a cup of coffee, especially for the high level people that you want to continue to build that relationship with. You really base that next, and we're all for template follow-ups, especially for like networking and stuff, but you personalize them a little bit. But essentially that's more for the masses, but you definitely want to put in that next step. Like, don't leave it on the table. Make sure that you're following up with prospects, with people that you meet, with clients. I will say, it's interesting when we decided to do this particular topic, I remembered a pattern that I would get into with clients or potential clients. Whenever I had a big bid, a big project that I was going to bid on, I would procrastinate my follow-up with them because I was in fear of maybe either getting the business and not being worthy enough, or I was in fear of them not necessarily telling me no. That wasn't always a fear, but sometimes that would come up. I'm more fear of success oriented versus the fear of failure. So when we were talking about this, I was thinking about that and I was like, holy shit, like I can remember this so clearly. And I found myself doing it sometimes now, of like, oh, people want this, and I might take 24 hours to follow up with them. I'm still following up with them, but there are some times where I might hesitate or not do it right away because of some stuff in my mind that I'm going through. So I think it's important to understand, like, if you're having a block of following up, what that block comes from. And I understand where mine came from. There are times though that you want to put time between the follow-ups, but you also don't want to get into that old like dating thing, let the boy call first, or,
the ball's in their court.
3 days has to pass, like all that's bullshit. But understanding why you might hesitate or why you never even thought of it, what your resistance is, if you feel like you're being annoying or it's too salesy or you don't know what to say, like, then okay, fix that part. But follow up is key. And by the way, follow up also isn't a one-time thing. It's not wham bam. It's multiple follow-ups and follow-throughs.
How many times do you think is too many times to follow up?
It depends on the dialogue between us. I can give you real life examples. So we were promoting an event and I was introduced to a few people for promoting our 6-day event going to Manila. I made contact with a couple of people, but I was introduced to a few. There was one high level woman that I was introduced to. She messaged back in the 3-way intro and said, okay, I'll deal with Lynn outside of this. I messaged her, and I also had friended her on LinkedIn and sent her a message, and she said, email me, right? She had responded twice, but very superficial. I'll message Lynn outside of this and I will on LinkedIn, email me. I would say for her, because I messaged her, I LinkedIn her and I messaged her one more time. So I'm a rule of 3 if they're not responsive. And then I might let time pass and I might just like find something that even if I don't know them, maybe this particular person loves flower arrangements and I see a flower expo and I might send them that, and that it's more of a nurturing follow-up versus a follow-up. But I'd say if they're not responding, the 3 is kind of my rule of thumb. Yeah. How about you?
Now, I agree with the rule of 3. And I will say, because this question gets asked a lot, like clients all go, how many times is too many times to follow up? I don't think there is too many times to follow up.
I'd agree.
Again, the 3 is a great rule of thumb, like 3 times before you start in a short period. Yeah. But I have people who fell into my CRM years ago and I will circle back around to them.
Oh yeah.
Years. There's no such thing as, until there's a restraining order.
I don't take it that far, but yes.
I mean, it hasn't gotten that place yet.
Listen, a no is a no now. It doesn't mean a no is later. Yeah. And that's with a no. But even like the not engaging back, people get busy. Like people have lives. I like sometimes, especially because I use WhatsApp all the time, like I'll look at a message. I think now you can make it unread, but before you couldn't. And I forget that I didn't, in my mind, I responded back.
I'm super guilty of that.
I'm so bad at that. I do respond in my mind though. Some people hear it, some people don't.
Yeah. There. Sorry that you're not intellectually, emotionally, physically, but yeah, physiologically. I don't know. Anyway, the point is, but when you think about how often you're following up with somebody, I don't believe that there is a limit to it. And I'll give an example, like a very clear example in my mind. I had a client reach out and they said no to a service because they had a family emergency. They had a family thing going on. They're like, I really don't have the capacity to do it. I can't meet with you. And great, we're done. Followed up again. And then she was pregnant and it was a difficult pregnancy. And again, another length of time. So at that point, a year had passed. She had had a family thing, and then she got pregnant. She had the baby. She was in the, postpartum stuff. And my follow-ups were mostly just like checking to see how you're doing. Like, how's the baby? Did you decide on a name? Like those kind of things. Another year passed, and she was out of the, the newborn craziness. And then she wanted to talk about a deal. So 2 full years had passed until she was ready to talk about it, but she was still in the loop of things. I was still following up with her 2 years later. And then she became a client, an actual paying client 2 years later. And it wasn't pushy. I wasn't calling her like, you said, like, isn't your sibling dead yet? Like, there was a lot of things that I could have done very wrong. And there were a lot of conversations that I could have had. I could have guilted her and like, aren't you done with the baby? Like, the baby's 6 months now. Like, aren't you done? Like, there could have been a lot of things.
Stop helicopter parenting.
You can have a job now. Just the point is that there are a lot of very salesy things I could have approached her with
100%
to turn her off. But again, it was a very light nurturing. I understood the situation of it. And it changed how I followed up with her. I wasn't going to follow up with her, in my normal 7 days later kind of scenario when she had family issues that were very severe, or that she had a difficult pregnancy. That's not the time to follow up, or the occasion, and the way I followed up changed. But the fact that I followed up did not change. And that's what we're trying to say here, is that you can change how frequently you do it. You can change the purpose of the follow-up. You can change all the things. But if I don't follow up, you're never going to get a yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be completely reactive.
Yeah.
I do want to make a couple points of what you just said. I love all of that. And Amanda is actually great at, and I used to do this with telemarketing, is like, she kept note of like what was going on in her life. I'm a big advocate of that as well. Listen, telemarketing was not easy. You think that shit is hard now? Like, telemarketing was and I loved it. But I would keep like a filing system, like a tickler system with 3x5 cards. I know it's super old school. You did
the
a
Rolodex.
spreadsheet. Oh, I loved it.
And now I have a spreadsheet.
The spreadsheet now, but she knows. But also, her price point ticket items are higher than, let's say, a massage therapist or an esthetician or somebody who doesn't make as much money. Now, we're not saying they can go into your CRM, which does the following up for you. Certain clients, like my waxer, my threader, actually will send me a message. And I love that she started this about when I'm due, to say, hey, you're due now, on a WhatsApp message. I love that. And it's very simple because it's nurturing. Like, people get busy. Like, it's a nurturing thing too. But because you're keeping record of like what's happening, and she doesn't get paid much, right? So, but she's still doing that because you're like putting that personal touch to it. Actually feels like they're being seen, they're being heard, and it adds value to the relationship as well. So just kind of keep those 2 things into 3 things, actually, because you can use a CRM to follow up as well. I think that those are super important. So tracking, so you know what's going on, the doing it and using that personal information, or like reminding them of, and then also the third part, whatever, I forget.
But I want to say about your example of having a smaller price point, that doesn't make it less important, because the lifetime value of a repeat customer, even if it's a smaller amount. So like Lynn, for example, it may, let's just say for math's sake, it's only $5 she's spending every month. But how many people is she referring who that person's now picking up? How many times during the year is she coming? So that $5 service may actually be worth $200. And so you have to kind of think about the lifetime value of your client, and that follow-up can be reframed in your brain, because a lot of times you think like, oh, well, it's only going to be worth like $20. What's the point? It's not worth $20. It's worth the lifetime value of that client. So if that client on average stays 3 years, spending $100 a month every month for 3 years, it's worth a lot more in your mind than just saying like, oh, it's $100. I could get that from somebody else. So thinking about your follow-up and changing your mindset around why you're following up with people can also help, because it is work.
Yeah, but you can systemize and automate a lot of things. You don't have to complicate it. Like, simple, like I love, even with people who I do not know, never met. I'm pretty more active on LinkedIn than other things, but even through WhatsApp acquaintances, I'll leave them a voice note. Hey, Amanda, I've been thinking about you, like like you crossed my mind. So if she's not in my immediate need to follow up, every once in a while, we'll dip into some of the old contacts that I want to continue to nurture and different things like that. Like, you can do a quick voice note. You can automate things. There are CRMs that will actually do that for you. Send out cards was a brilliant. It is, not
It
was.
is.
A brilliant business model where it's really big in the US and some other countries where you can pre-program to have a personalized card be sent out on certain dates, right? So it's staying in their mind. And I can tell you, if you actually work a follow-up and follow-through system in your business, you will absolutely surpass your competitors because so many people don't do it and they don't do it right. If they do it, they don't do it consistently. And just these little nuggets that we're giving you can absolutely make you stand out heads and tails above everybody else.
Heads and tails. And, I think about one of the other aspects is we don't want you to be reactive. So we talk a lot about being proactive versus being reactive. And when it comes to things like even your advertising or you're asking for leads, like it's great to get a lead. I've seen a lot of companies where I can get you 100 leads in the next 30, I can get 500 leads. Great. And if you don't have a system set up to handle and follow up with those leads, it's just wasted money. Yep. Because having somebody's email and phone number and their name means jack squat if you never contact them, never reach out. I've been seeing quite a few of these come up on like my Facebook, be like, I'll get you 100 new leads here. Like, great. How did you get them? Are they warm leads? What was the context of getting those leads? Is it just 100 random emails? Because I could look that up right now. I could pull back the class of 2009.
I mean there are AI things that will give you.
Yeah, there's AI things that will give you the email. So what's the context of that? And then what's your follow-up? What's the purpose of that next step? Because 100 leads means absolutely nothing if you don't do something with that.
Absolutely.
Period.
Absolutely. Okay. We've given you lots of little nuggets about following up and some things that we use as well, like keeping track of who they are, automating, systemizing it, making sure that you're following up. And listen, and I've given the story a few times. I remember when we went to sell our house in Hawaii and I went to 3 different real estate agents. I ended up showing it with 2. One was a friend and one was a business associate. I respected her, probably given it to my friend, etc., etc. After I showed them both the house, about 3 months later, I got a thank you card from the one who's a business associate. Nothing from my friend. She just assumed. It really stuck with me. And that is a thank you card, but it's also a follow-up and a follow-through. We ended up selling the house through her because to me, that was just the extra little touch that I felt like we needed. We were going through a divorce and there were things happening. So there was a lot more kind of lifing at that point. And so it just meant a lot. Obviously, you want to follow up right away, but even if you don't have the time, and we often say when you go to a networking event or have some kind of event or anything, you want to schedule in time that next day to be able to follow up with everybody. If it's on LinkedIn, depending on how casual or how professional it is, you want to be following up right away and just saying, hey, it was nice to meet you. So that timing is important. But at any time, even a year later, like, hey, like Amanda, I know I dropped the ball, but I've just been thinking about you and I just want to touch base. Again, it's not selling, it's following through, it's following up. One other point too, before we end up closing, because I know we've been rambling a while, is don't assume and don't project. That's the word. Don't project, just follow up. Don't assume, don't project, just follow up. You'll be surprised what will happen. Don't assume that they don't want to talk to you. Don't assume that they don't have connections that can help you. You never know what they know. You never know what they're willing to do. I mean, obviously go into things and relationships and kind of like movement with a purpose, and it's not one-sided. It's not all about you. Yeah, you want to make sure that you're not assuming and projecting as well.
I'm going to say one more thing for the overachievers who are listening today. In my mind, so much time has passed between the last time I spoke with somebody. I think that months have passed when really I'll look at my spreadsheet and be like, oh, I actually talked to her 32 hours ago.
I've had to call her out on this a few times.
Yeah. I assume because I am on hyperspeed that that's the time that has passed. But no, if you are an overachiever and you tend to move very quickly, Lynn and I both do, but I'm much worse than Lynn is at this.
I don't assume.
Well, yeah, I just don't be crazy like me. Okay. Just please write down, because you don't want to assume that somebody is late at getting the information back to you. Like, oh my God, it's been forever. This person has been so late getting this information to me. And then you realize it's only been 6 hours and you're the crazy one. Okay. Yeah. Or time zones. It's been so long, they haven't gotten back to me, but they've been asleep the last 12 hours. Like, it's okay.
We've had this conversation many times.
Couple months.
It's funny. It's almost like you're in a time warp.
I am in a time warp.
It's hilarious.
I could do that choreography, by the way. The point is, please, please, please check to make sure that you're not the problem.
Absolutely. And simplifying it, like we were talking about her spreadsheet. Now I use more of a spreadsheet, but I also, how I follow up, like we should not rely on our memory as much either. And that is a bad habit of mine. Like I've always had a really good memory. It's not
Same.
It's
not the same.
As we age, it's not the same, but also you can put it into your calendar. So really important dates, like I put into my calendar as a notification on my Google Calendar, because we live by our Google calendars. We love Google. We want an affiliate fee.
Sponsor.
Please. Yes, sponsor us. Yeah, put it into your calendar. Don't overcomplicate it. Just start implementing a follow-up and follow-through system in your business, and it will pay off. Believe me.
Tenfold.
100%.
Yes.
Insane. All right. So if you like this podcast, please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and share it with your network. Like this is super important. This should be a part of your business operations.
From the very get-go.
100%.
And if you haven't been doing it, today's a great day to start.
Yes.
It's never too late to follow up with somebody. If you think that it is too late, think about anybody. If your long lost friend called you up after 10 years and said, I've been thinking about you. Where have you been in the last 10 years? Would you be sad about that? Probably not.
No.
So think of it that way. Again, don't assume they don't want to hear from you. Follow up. Today's a good day to do it.
Absolutely. And start to create a system that you can duplicate and follow the 1, 2, 3 steps to make it easy for you. And then you can pass it on to one of your employees to help you with eventually, or someone who takes over your position. But share this with your community. We want to know, what are you using to follow up? Like there's plenty of tools and gadgets out there too that you can automate and systemize with, but please leave in the notes, shoot us a DM. What are you using to follow up, and kind of what's your rule of thumb?
Yeah, I definitely want to see, we want to see what are you guys doing that's working and what's not working.
Yeah. Till next time.
Get after it.
Thanks for tuning in. But remember, listening is not doing.
Take what you heard today and move.
Share the episode, leave us a review, and tag us when you take action.
Head over to thepursuitofbadasserie.com and see how we're helping entrepreneurs get results without the fluff.
Until next time,
let's get after it.